Hi guys, I'm Lou and I'm with a couple of my friends and we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions about essential oils. So we also have
Hi, I'm Fiona.
And Tanya. Hi, everyone.
So I'm going to just briefly describe to you what an essential oil is, just in case you've got no idea or you'd like to know a little bit more. And in my hand, I'm holding one of my favorite essential oils. It's Valor. This is a blend of other essential oils, and that means it's a blend of different plants. So essentially, essential oils are plants in a bottle. So we know that over the centuries, men and women have used plants to help support their wellness, for healing purposes, and so on and so forth. Well, we have these beautiful plants, either distilled or cold pressed, and the oil collected into little bottles like this for us to use in our homes. So really, in its simplest terms, an essential oil is plant matter in a bottle. And the plant matter may be the leaves. They may use the leaves of the plant. They may use the flowers from the plant. They may use the bark, the resin, the stems. It depends on the essential oil that we're talking about. So if you just think of them as plants in a bottle, you're halfway there. All righty. Now, I think, Fiona, you were going to talk about how essential oils have evolved over time. Is that right? You've got a little bit of a history lesson for us?
I do. And some of you already might know this one, but back in 1922, when they actually opened King Tutankhamun's tomb, they actually found alabaster jars which housed essential oils, and they still contain traces of essential oils. Tomb robbers had actually stolen nearly all of the precious oils, but the robbers literally chose oils over a king's wealth in gold, showing us how valuable the essential oils were for them. So really interesting. I love that story. And maybe Lou, you can tell us why I shouldn't buy essential oils from Kmart or a pharmacy.
So why buy Young Living oils and not your $3 oils from Kmart? Yeah, I can do that. So our oils are always developed or produced for a purpose. So we're lucky enough to have had Gary Young at the helm of Young Living. He founded Young Living over 25 years ago, and he studied plants and he studied with aromatherapists, and he traveled the world to discover how essential oils and how plants had helped heal and support people over the centuries, just like Fiona just referred to. So there's a lot of science behind our essential oils, and we are guaranteed that in our bottles of essential oils, it is only plant matter. We don't have any synthetic fillers. Nothing is added to the bottle of essential oil apart from the matter, the essential oil that is distilled from the plant matter. So I'm just going to tell you a few little fascinating stories I was listening to the other day. The first one is about our ylang ylang essential oil. And ylang ylang flowers grow on a tree. And when the ylang ylang flowers open, they have a beautiful red center. Now, if this red center isn't fully developed, the ylang ylang flowers are not picked by the Young Living workers on the farms. Or if the flower has opened too much, the flower isn't picked either. The flower has to be picked at a certain stage of flowering. Otherwise, ylang ylang doesn't do what we want ylang ylang to do after it's been distilled. So with other companies, they will go to the ylang ylang trees and they'll randomly pick all of the flowers and the stems and maybe a few leaves in there, just because it's quicker and easier. Throw it all in the big vat for distillation, and then they'll produce their ylang ylang oil. And unfortunately, that oil, producing an oil that way, will not give the oil the benefits that we want ylang ylang to have for us. Another cool story is that our lavender oil is often distilled for at least an hour and a half. Other companies will only distill lavender oil for about 45 minutes. Now, if this is the case, it has to be distilled at a higher temperature. If they distill at a higher temperature, unfortunately, the plant matter is damaged in some way, And again, that essential oil won't be as beneficial to us as what it would be distilled at a lower temperature for a longer period of time. So what this means sometimes is, yes, our essential oils may cost us a little bit more. However, we can be assured that they'll actually have the therapeutic benefits that we want them to have, which is really cool. One more little story before I ask Fiona or Tanya just to fill us in a little bit more too. Another cool story is about the Melissa essential oil. So Melissa apparently is a little bit of a diva. She's a little plant, and if she touches the ground when she is harvested, she will not release her essential oils. So who knows how other companies harvest Melissa, but we know that Young Living have done the research and all the scientific testing to get the best possible essential oil from this Melissa plant. And they know that this little diva cannot touch the ground underneath her because she won't release her essential oils. How cool is that? So Young Living do a lot of research, a lot of testing, and a lot of, let's say, they study how essential oils have been produced over the centuries by the masters of aromatherapy, the French, the Egyptians, the Romans. They've all distilled essential oils over the centuries, and we are lucky enough to have that knowledge within the Young Living company. Now, I can't remember what we're going to talk about next, but I think Tanya wanted to add to this. Yeah. Go, Tan.
I've had a number of people ask me why we don't actually have the label organic on our.
Good point.
And I always come back with that our oil is actually beyond organic because we go to such a stringent level of how we grow, distill, and then bottle our oils. So, and I know in researching for this talk, I wanted to learn a bit more about it as well. Like I know you girls have as well, and these stories are really fascinating. Thanks, girls. Is that our oils don't just come from one farm. Sometimes they come from different farms. So what might be organic in the US market might not be organic to the same standard in Ecuador or maybe in the European market.
Mm-hmm.
So our farms have gone beyond organic because they're actually organic for all the markets. So even though we can't actually state that it's organic, because every market is slightly different in their criteria, they are actually basically organic for all the markets, which is really amazing. So even though we can't state it, we are beyond organic. And I'm going to run through a few things. And I know you've touched on them, Louie, why I know that they are beyond organic. So as you know, we own a lot of farms or in partnership with farmers. And when we are looking at purchasing a farm or in aligning ourselves with a farmer, those lands have to be pesticide and herbicide free for at least 7 years before they even look at purchasing those farms. So knowing that those soils are free of all those heavy metals and things like that is really important for Young Living. We also employ full-time weed pickers. So other companies are a bit more profit-based and not purpose-based in their oils will choose to spend $60, say, on using chemicals to spray the weeds within their plant on a crop, whereas we'll spend up to $12,000 in paying workers to hand weed every crop we have, because we know the effect those pesticides are going to have on those plants. And we certainly don't want those chemicals coming through into our essential oils. So that's a really, amazing. And knowing that is a really, incredible. The other thing I love about, and I have had the opportunity to actually see our farms, is that they actually have worm farms on each farm. So what that means is that whatever leftover plant matter goes into worm farms, so they're actually regenerating, making sure those soils are replenished by using these worm farms, which is fantastic. And look, sometimes nature doesn't provide. So once we've gone through and harvested and distilled, and we've gone through all our testing, and we actually go through 3 lots of testing, as well as a third-party testing as well. So we are making sure that every batch has the right constituents for those healing purposes that you talked about. Sometimes nature just doesn't provide. The rain wasn't prevalent that year, or they had some really strong winds and it just wasn't quite where we wanted them to be. instead of then throwing out that beautiful batch of oils, we actually then putting it back on the farm to replenish the soils or use it as a natural pesticide for the farm. So it's never wasted, so which is fantastic. I love all these amazing stories that Young Living do to make sure that we are beyond organic. And I know I talk about therapeutic grade, and I suppose is what we're talking about, right? Because they do have a healing purpose. So knowing that we have quality plants, and once we've harvested, we're actually using some of those seeds from the past crops to reseed our next season's crops as well. We're not using any GMO seeds or anything like that. We are collecting those seeds to then reharvest for the following season, which is fantastic. And that's what really traditional farmers have done for centuries. And so I love that, that Young Living still do that and honour those ancient traditions. Because what it means then too is when we distill in-house, we're actually preserving nature's living essence in those bottles, which I know you've spoken about as well. So they're unadulterated, they're uncut, they're not put with any synthetic fillers to make them go a little bit further, like some companies like to do, because obviously, again, they're a bit more profit-based. Knowing all of that and the passion that Young Living have to create those oils that have a healing purpose for us, knowing that then we have this really strength and purity that is just beyond any other essential oil that I've certainly used. And I have used a number of brands previously to Young Living. So I love talking about the beyond organic because I have experienced other oils.
Can I just say one more thing? That's so cool, Tan, like that amazing information. But one more thing about distillation and how some companies will distill the plant matter again and again and again. Yeah? So it sort of reminds me of my mum and dad, right? They share tea bags, the one tea bag. So it's a bit like taking the plant matter and distilling it here for one cup of tea and then using it again for another cup of tea and then again for another cup of tea. And that cup of tea gets weaker and weaker and weaker as it goes on. And then it's all poured in together. So you have basically a weak blend or a weak cup of tea, whatever you might like to call it. With Young Living, they distill once. That's it. So they dunk that tea bag once and you get a good strong blend or a good strong mix, and that's it. So it's called the first distill as opposed to a complete distill. Yeah.
Well done.
I think that makes our oils so much stronger, and one drop is often all you need. So like when you were using another brand of oils, was that the case?
Oh, definitely. Look, the big turning point for me was when I started using Progessence, which we know is our beautiful hormone balancing oil. And, I was having some symptoms that I really wanted to support. And honestly, it was within a week or two, I had no symptoms. And I knew because I had something of similar equivalent with another brand, and it wasn't touching my symptoms. But as soon as the Young Living one, I knew that was early on when I first opened my account. I knew I was using something completely different to what I was used to using. So,
I remember back in the early days when I was looking for a recipe for peppermint bliss balls, peppermint chocolate bliss protein balls or bliss balls, whatever you want to call it. And this particular recipe wasn't really written for Young Living essential oils, and it said add 15 drops of peppermint. So I was like, oh no, if I add 15 drops of our peppermint, I ain't going to be able to eat them.
That's right.
I use 3 or 4 drops. So we may pay a little bit more for some of our oils, but we use less. So they go further. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. And
I'd like to actually, if I could just follow on from Tanya with her Beyond Organic, I'd really like to talk about how we don't have expiry dates on our essential oils. As we're only talking about Young Living essential oils here. So as Tanya said, they're pure therapeutic grade essential oils. And so they do not expire and will maintain their integrity and efficacy and therapeutic properties virtually indefinitely, provided they are stored correctly in a, you know, they come in a dark bottle already, dark glass bottle, and they're tightly sealed and they're out of sunlight and in cool temperatures. That's really important. And also with Young Living, they also have a date stamp on the back of the oil, on the oil bottle. So the date stamp is on every label. So it's year, month and date. And that stamp actually, it can be traced back, so to any particular batch. So as you know, we have the seed to seal process, and so they can actually trace that oil back. Now, I did say that our oils don't have expiry dates. We've recently introduced the wellness oils. And so the wellness oils, which is this one here, oops, hang on, we'll get that right. So that the wellness oils, they do have expiry dates on them. And this is due to Young Living going through the process with the TGA, and the TGA actually demand that we have expiry dates on these oils. So yeah, so it's not something we wanted to do, but yeah, they require.
They're not necessarily going to expire on that date if they're stored correctly. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Cool.
So and with if you've got an essential oil that's got a carrier oil in it, so like some of our rollerballs have carrier oils in it, the carrier oil itself can go rancid after a number of years, so the shelf life is slightly reduced. So just be aware of that.
Like our Deep Relief and our Breathe Again and Stress Away with the roller blend. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly.
But not the bottles with the white lids.
No, that's right. So the ones that don't have carrier oils, and you would see that in your product guide or whatever. So yeah, you can see if it's got a carrier oil on. So you just need to be aware of those. So yeah.
Cool. So should we just briefly touch on given that this is meant to be a frequently asked questions little video, some people say to me, how should I use my essential oil? So maybe I'll just describe how I use oils topically, and maybe you girls can describe the other methods of use. So when I use an essential oil, I never, ever, ever put my fingertips on there. I always drop the oil, just if you can see that, through my energy fields. So let's hope it hasn't run out like that. And then I'll either just give it a little, or rub my wrists together like that, or maybe I would have put it on my fingertips and I'll put it behind my ears like that, or maybe over my heart, or sometimes I drop on my head like that if I need a bit of an attitude adjustment with my frankincense. So we can use oils topically. That's one way we can use them, even on our skin in our moisturizer. The only warning I have for you there is if the blend contains a citrus oil, or if it is a citrus oil itself, it's best not to go out and expose that area of skin to the sun. So I know one of our members, who shall remain nameless right now, she was putting Stress Away on herself and she wiped her forehead like that. Now, Stress Away contains lime essential oil, which of course is a citrus oil, and it turned her skin, well, she had 3 dark stripes across her head. So the citrus oils make your skin slightly photosensitive. So she ended up with swipe marks across her forehead, which did fade in time, but weren't very attractive for the next few months. So just be careful if you are going out in the sun as to where you are applying your oils. So they can, so there we go. But number one, they can be used topically. Do you want to explain how they can be used?
Can I just quickly jump in there, because I was going to talk about skin discomfort. So if, you know, when you're using something topically and you get a skin discomfort or irritation, the best thing is to stop using that essential and grab your V6 oil, which Young Living have, or a carrier oil, or full fat milk, olive oil, coconut oil, whatever, because oils are attracted to fat. So if you actually washed it off with water, it's actually going to drive the oil in deeper and make it hotter. So, or whatever the situation you actually have created. So now if a rash occurs, it could mean that you're detoxing. So drink a lot of water as well in the beginning. I just remember when I started using oils in the beginning, I actually drank a lot of water to just help, because I know I was detoxing and I was told best to drink water at that point. And before using essential oil, always best to do a patch test as well, or dilute with a carrier oil. So yeah, I love using the B6 oil. That is such a great product to have on hand. So I don't know if either of you girls want to add anything to that. So yeah.
We've all got our diffusers going. Tan, you would talk about diffusing?
Yeah, I mean, my diffusers to the side of me, I've got, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe not.
Yeah.
There it is.
My beautiful lantern. I have diffusers in every room of my house. I just got sick of moving them around. You know, you start off with one and then have to sleep, and so every night I'd move it back and forth, and then I got jacked of that. So then you buy another one and you put that in the room, and then the kids go, oh, I need one for sleep as well, so you buy one for them. You know, so your house ends up, and diffusing such a beautiful way to just, you know, change the atmosphere that you're living in. So I know I've had many mum message me after a month or two of just that morning routine of diffusing peace and calming, or a citrus blend, or a stress away in the morning. So mums normally get up first, the diffusers go on, and she said over time they sort of realised that their morning routine was not everyone yelling at each other, get in the car, what are you doing, and all that. It was just a calmer environment. And isn't that just, it's those little things that make such a big difference in everyday life that you don't even realise that's what you're doing every day. Having a beautiful, you know, smelling environment that is also very calming for the emotions is just fantastic. And for me as a teacher, diffusing in my classroom too is, well, it's so beneficial, particularly as we're going into term 1 next week for us. So I'm going to be my human diffuser. I'm going to be wearing Stress Away and Valor, and certainly diffusing a beautiful citrus blend in my classroom. Just stop those anxious moments when mum have to say goodbye, and making that, in, you know, that initial few days a happy one for those kids that may be a little bit more sensitive. So I love doing that as well.
Thanks, Tan. I think, should we wrap it up now? Because that was we just presented a lot of information. Unless you want to say something more, Tan? Oh, hang on.
I also love flavouring my water.
Yeah.
You know, love flavouring of water. 38, you know, culinary oils. Obviously, all the beautiful citrus ones are so yummy. I just go from lime to then a grapefruit to a lemon, depending on what my mood takes me. But honestly, it makes my water taste so good. One, it's just so therapeutic as well. Chicky lemon is very alkalizing for your body. I just love all the oils. I just have flavoured water all the time now. But I do err a side of caution, always use glass or stainless steel, or like, as you can see, I'm using my old Ningxia bottles. So great. It starts a conversation. You know, when you have these unusual bottles and you're drinking water, they're, what are you doing? What are you drinking? Which is great. Why we use glass or stainless steel compared to maybe a plastic bottle is that over time, our beautiful essential oils do actually break down that plastic, and you end up drinking plastic, which is obviously what we don't want to happen. So definitely, you know, if you've never tried putting a drop or two of, you know, essential oil in your water, I highly recommend it, but always in glass or stainless steel.
Yeah, definitely. I've got frankincense and orange in mine because I'm suffering from quite a few late nights and a lot of activity this week. So I find frankincense and orange is very restorative.
I love spearmint in mine.
Spearmint is energizing. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I've just tasted wine. So I made, you know, 3 bottles of mouthwash. You know how you tip your whole mouthwash? and then you fill up with distilled water and you put in your spearmint and some cinnamon bark and thieves. Well, I've been drinking a diluted version of mouthwash.
Nice. Fresh breath all day.
Nice fresh breath. So there you go.
Well, guys, I hope this has been interesting if you've had an opportunity to listen to this. And if somebody shared this video link with you and you have some questions, please go back and ask that person any questions you may have. If you see this video in our Facebook forum, please just comment below if you've got any questions, and hopefully somebody will get back to you with a response. But never hesitate to ask. We're always here to help. And yeah, we hope that this has been of some value to you guys in your essential oil journeys. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.